Hello again. I was just thinking back to Douglas Adams, who mentioned something about some people believing the world came out of the nose of the great green Arkell seizure from sneezing, or the universe rather came from that. And I had the same feeling with like this. If I just blow a bit, then I will lose a universe. Because these are just resistors that I'm using to make the lit switches here for these pocket lamps a bit less bright, so that they will last for I think 4 years or so instead of 2 months. And it's still bright enough. But yeah, micro SD cards these days, for example, are so small and there's so much information on it. If you're not careful, you lose the universe. In any case, I wanted to talk a little bit about multimeters. So multimeters are not that useful for bicycling. You can sometimes use them to check for broken wires. If there's nothing, if the tail lamp doesn't work, for example, then you could check if there is a broken contact. But mostly they're for other things more useful, like actual electronics. So I use them a bit, for example, to measure the current through tail lamps when when installing a different driver. But also I've used them to check, for example, the current for these digital calipers. I have 2 of these. I have one that I bought long ago. That's this one. I think it's from probably 20 years old or so. And this is really good, but it's also annoying in the sense that it drains the battery in how long is it? Less than 6 months, definitely less than 6. And that's what you get often with cheap calipers as well. This was not a cheap caliper. This was before the time of the really cheap calipers that you can buy everywhere on AliExpress or whatever. But I measured the current, and it is I think it was 17 microamps, and that is gives approximately a runtime that shows that that's why it drains so quickly. It's just too much. There is no real off. If you switch it off, then actually the current doesn't change. So it's never really off. That's also why it also keeps its zero, and you can leave it, for example, like this, switch it off, do it back, switch it on, and then it's at 0. If it does not have really real measurement of the exact position, then that would not be possible, but it's possible because it's never off. This is the Mitutoyo that I bought last year. I bought it mainly because it has slightly bigger digits, which is useful, but also I was just really tired of changing the batteries so quickly. So I measured that, and for that you need a multimeter that does microamps, and I did that with the Fluctuate 9. This is a really expensive one, although you can sometimes get them cheaply for, say, 300, 400 euros, which is fairly cheap for this one, because it's normally more than 600, perhaps 700 euros. But as I mentioned in a video where someone asked what equipment I use to measure temperature, so that's the Fluctuate 9. But also this one, which is the Aneng 8009, which is about 30 euros. And this is a lot cheaper. This is 30 euros, as I said. Everything is obviously cheaper and not as good. For example, this is the thermocouple, and it's a big stick, and it means it has a lot of heat mass, and it means the temperature won't go as quickly towards the real temperature, whereas this is a tiny dot, and that is the actual thermocouple, so that goes very quickly towards real temperature. Also, everything is better. These are silicon wires, and the shroud here covering this can be removed, which is really useful very quickly. Here you need to pull it off. but still this is pretty good. So let's show you a little bit. Where's the temperature? Yeah, that's here, the temperature. Then I need to put it in, let's see, which one is it? Select. Yep, now it's in Celsius. What temperature is it? So it's 26 Celsius here. All right, let's put on the Fluctoid 9. The downside of this multimeter is that it takes a while to start up, but otherwise I think it's a fantastic multimeter. Menu Celsius. Wait a minute. Oh wait, here, menu Celsius 25.4. Okay, let's try it with some tea. Okay, so here I have the tea. Let's see how quickly it goes to the, how quickly it stabilizes. 74.4. So it goes almost immediately to that temperature. Now I put it out and you see it drops to 45, 40, 35, so fairly quickly. Now let's try the Aneng. You see it takes a lot longer to get to the correct temperature. 66, 60. Let's see, has the tea already cooled that much? No, the flux indicates 70. Ah yeah, if you go too low, then it drops. So you need to, so if you go to the bottom of the tea glass, then the temperature drops again. Yeah. In any case, it works quite well. I would trust this, of course, more than this one, but it's good enough for most situations. If you want a multimeter, then I would suggest not this one, because it's for most people overkill. Not this one, because it's a bit light, and I had some issues, for example, with low current measurements in the microamp range, for example, for the digital caliper. But generally this works well, but it's a bit too light, and I would just get a Brymen 235, and it's about, I think, 80 euros or so, which is a fair amount of money, but it's actually really good. This is good enough for most cases, but yeah, if you like good equipment, a Brymen 235 is I think the lowest I would go. This has contact voltage detection, but I wouldn't really use it. It's not really good. So yeah, I think for other electronic equipment, if you want to do some soldering, which can be useful also for bicycles to repair, for example, the tail lamp connections, or to get the wires somewhere in between, and you think, well, it's difficult to get it through, then you can solder a new piece on an already existing wires. And for that, I think the best option, or the cheapest good option, is the T12 stations. This is KSGR, but there are other ones. This is about 40 euro, and you can get these, yeah, tips. These are T12 tips in different shapes at the top here. Sharp or pencil-like, or like a bit of like a knife tip, and they're not expensive, 5 euro each perhaps. Yeah, I think that's it for now. See you in the next video. Bye.